Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Dace Rozenberga and I'm the Research Systems Manager at the University of Bath. And in this session, I'll talk about the work we have done around reporting on research centers and institutes, and specifically a project we have done around reporting on research funding data. So first, the University of Bath, it's in the UK. It is a research-intensive university. We have around 800 academic staff and around 20,000 students. And we have had Pure since 2012, so an earlier customer. We integrate Pure with our systems, human resources system, finance system, student data system. And our hierarchy is pretty traditional. We are based in across 4 faculties, 17 departments, and all our reporting is done on these entities. By and large, all the systems are set up to support the formal organizational structure around faculties and departments. And then along this formal structure, we also have research centers and research institutes. Established over time at different time periods for different purposes. They are organized at different levels, at the departmental, faculty, cross-institutional level. Some of them only keep to themselves, some of them work with everybody, as in most universities, I imagine. And we have a number of reporting requirements about what are they publishing, how much money they bring in, annual monitoring, stuff like that, really. And this reporting is always a bit tricky because there's no consistency in how we approach reporting in one institute and in one center. We try and stick to the same principles, but especially when we get to money, everyone wants to represent the best picture possible. So they will get all the list of all their projects and they will handpick manually, or we might always go, okay, give us a list of your academics and we will run a list of all your projects and here is your money. But there is no consistency and we know we are double counting the data. So we are reviewing and reorganizing some of our centers and institutes to align them better with the themes, to enable better collaboration, and to just cut the number of centers and institutes as well and tidy it up. At the moment, we have 7 institutes and 55 centers in Pure. And we also capture, because of the reporting requirements, we also capture data about institutes and centers, some of them in some other systems, like finance system. So with this reorganization, our senior management are going, tell us how much money they bring in. There are other aspects of that as well, but that's one of the main questions they really want answers to. So when it comes to financial reporting, that just sends alarm signals for us, because we know that we need to be clear that we present the information in a format that's consistent, that is fair, and also that we don't mislead people with how we present data. So to address this issue and inconsistencies, we did a pilot project, and it was pilot to demonstrate the potential value of our Enterprise Data Hub. So Enterprise Data Hub is a much bigger project that the university is embarking on. It's about introducing new data infrastructure, new resourcing in the IT services, changing how the resourcing is set up. It's also bringing in a lot of work and process around data governance, agreeing data definitions, looking at data accuracy. So it's a big multi-year project, and we carried out 3 different pilots to test how the data enterprise hub could work, Enterprise Data Hub. And automating the center and institute reporting on financial data was one of the pilots. The purpose was, it has a question mark, because we wanted to see if with the same report we can address a number of reporting needs. So annual monitoring being one, progress monitoring, funding, how do we fund these centers and institutes? That's another question we want to answer, how much funding they bring in and what funding model we can apply. So a number of purposes for this report, and we just wanted to also test a principle. Can we bring different data sources together? We considered different options. In terms of data sources, we are bringing our finance data, so that's our applications, awards, income data, together with affiliation data in Pure. And then we also had to identify a number of business rules to avoid double counting, because we know that inconsistencies will give possibly a misleading view of the data, because the money is the same. We already report on it at departmental level. We already report on it at faculty level. So if we then say, oh, and this institute brought in this much money, and this center brought in this much money, it's the same money. It's just making sure that people are aware that it's not new money, it's the same money, it's just sliced and diced differently. So the business rules we agreed on was we were looking at reporting at departmental project level. So that's how our finance system is set up when funding is brought in. We allocate it to department, and there is a departmental lead. And if several departments collaborate, each of them have a pot of money that we then process as a separate project. So we agreed that we would process it at departmental level, and we would count it towards the departmental lead core affiliation. So we introduced a new terminology in terms of core members and affiliate members for research institutes and research centers. And we said that each member of staff can be core in one center and in one institute. And we are making a presumption there that institutes is one layer of or entities, and centers is something else. So institutes are our cross-institutional entities, and centers are faculty-based. So we have some institutes that work like centers, we have some centers that work like institutes. That's something we are looking to tidy up, but that is the presumption we are making. So in essence, we are looking at reporting at departments, at institutes, and centers, and how we divvy up that money across these three layers. And we made changes to Pure to facilitate this work. So we amended the employment type classification. We added additional core member and affiliate staff and core staff membership. And that's now, and we have gone through our records, and we have identified our existing staff who were affiliated with centers and institutes, and we have changed them to core members and affiliate members. And by doing that, actually, that's really improved our reporting more generally in Pure as well, because our departmental affiliations are tidier, because so far we would always go, oh, show me all teaching and research staff for department, and that would bring through memberships of centers and institutes as well. But because we keep them separate, the reporting on entities is much cleaner, and with the new reporting module you can run really nice reports within Pure. So, and that's what we do for publications and other information. When we were looking at bringing together finance data and Pure affiliation data, there were a number of things we had to think about and address. One of them being time periods and how to present those. So we take the affiliation period in Pure, and then we want to report on financial data in quarters. So we agreed a quarterly basis was a reasonable time period. But that affiliation in Pure might start mid-quarter, it might change. How do we allocate money on applications and awards where we have specific award date, application date? And then how do we allocate income? That is accounted differently over periods, and it more retrospective, takes longer time. So time periods was one of the things we did quite a lot of thinking about. The other thing was, initially we thought, okay, we could take just affiliation data from Pure, but actually affiliations in finance system and in Pure are different. Staff are affiliated to several departments in Pure. In finance system, it's always only one department. So for departmental reporting, we use the finance system report department, and then for institutes and centers, we use Pure affiliations. So it's a mix, and it's all linked on a person's ID number. And then affiliations to centers and institutes. So we know we have people who are core members in more than one entity, and that's a data governance work and data process work that we need to work through yet. So we need to tidy them. But we have multiple affiliations, and we have lack of affiliations where they are a member of center but not an institute, or not a member of a center and institute. And how do we present that in our reporting when we want all the money to sum up to the total? Income data processing, that's a different process in terms of how the data gets processed. Sorry, too many processes. In that it takes longer time, it's reconciled at the quarter end for departments, but not at the individual project level at the moment. So actually income data is a trickier data to present, and we have more work to do then. And then data oddities and workarounds elsewhere. So we have 3 different types of institutes. They are set up differently, they are governed differently. Some of them come directly synchronized into Pure as affiliations, some of them are created within Pure manually. So how do we then represent those affiliations if we want to use them consistently afterwards? So the project took several months, and this is just to give credit to my colleagues, but also to just give a sight of the different teams that were involved in the report and building the report. So I'll show you some slides of where we got to. So that's a Power BI report bringing the data together. And just to note to say, this is very much an internal report in terms of, this is not a report we would give out to wide consumption. It's more about us being able to check that the data is correct at this stage, that we get the data totaling up. So it's not very visual report. It's more about making sure that the data align. So what we did was, and it kind of follows the same format, we have departments, centers, and institutes. And the main thing really was about making sure that the data we get in finance system, we spent a lot of time making sure we can align the data between different entities. So the data we get for faculties and departments, we can drill down to those, then total up to the data we would have for activities by research centers, and we bring in application values numbers, award value numbers, and income as well. And then that totals up to the research institute. And we can then drill down by the quarters, by affiliate staff, core staff, or staff who don't have affiliation to either center or institute. And we have a number of filters at the top. The affiliate type is the one we spent most time on, because we want to filter on core staff only, or core staff and affiliate, and then obviously you do a bit of double counting there. But if people wanted to know, okay, how much are affiliate staff add? And then we also can filter out for people who are not affiliated to anything. And we also have unknown PI, which is where we don't have staff who are in our finance system coming into Pure. And then we need to process that data and look at that. And then other filters are by organization type, name, and by quarters. And finally, we very much wanted to just show the totals for university, so that whoever is using those reports is very clear this is the total value, and of that the center or institute brings in that much, but not to lose the sight of the total money we are talking about. And then on the side, we have done similar views for income. We split out applications awards specifically. We have views of institutes and centers. And I'll show a bit more. So this would be a view of a specific center, and we can for institute, and we can see then because we also bring the data for departments, we can see which departments contribute to the income or to applications and awards of that institute, and how that funding correlates or feeds into one another, and where the funding comes from, and where it's been already reported to. And we also have a view of all academics in a specific center or institute, and we can see what applications, awards they bring in, and we are able to then drill through to specific application details, specific award details, and also PI affiliations, which I'll show a bit later. And we are also able to then see who is bringing money in and who isn't. And a point I'll make here. So this is a view of an academic. So we have information about all the funding they bring in. And then at the bottom, we show the pure affiliation data. So we can see from what period to what period they were affiliated where, and where we might have duplication. We can see how that money then contributes to specific centers and which bit of the funding we are counting where. And this is, say, this is a dashboard for internal use, really. It's not something we are looking to put out for everyone to use, because obviously there's a question about responsible metrics, at what level we actually count the data, what is appropriate. So just because we can do that doesn't mean we should, and doesn't mean that's what we are going to. And we are also very careful in terms of how this information then is used, because just because we can identify who is doing what doesn't mean, so those are our considerations, and will be especially going forwards in what is the best use for this, because it's information we are being asked for, but we might not show that granularity more publicly outside of our professional services. And finally, we also have a dashboard showing these duplicate affiliations, where we might have people who are core members in several entities, and where we need to do work to tidy them up and agree what is the best home for them. So in terms of progress to date, we were able to bring data into the data hub. We have developed technical proof of concept, and that was really, it was a bit of a chicken egg situation, but we were very keen to test this idea, make sure it works for everyone in terms of satisfying our reporting needs. But then also we felt that we really needed something visual to show to senior management to get the idea across that if we have proper governance structures around research centers and institutes, and proper governance around who is core member, who is affiliate member, then this is the sort of reporting we could do. Otherwise, if there are inconsistencies, anything we want to do automatically is much harder to do, obviously. So we were able to reconcile the department data, but we know there is issues around data quality, around core affiliations. We need to do more work around income and how that's processed, and specific organizations, we have some issues. And then in terms of lessons learned, we did a lot of learning of lessons around how the project was run, and that will inform our going forwards for the bigger project. And these concerned language used. So even to the basics of what do we understand as pilot. Different teams turned out understood different things with the word pilot. The ownership, because this was a project between IT services, research innovation services, and data project management team. It sometimes got lost between gaps who is actually the owner of this project, because it also had several objectives that we wanted to show. And lots of lessons around communication and how much time is needed from the business to do a piece of work like that. And finally, where we are taking this forwards, it's around, basically we came to conclusion we really need senior management to make some decisions. And if we don't have those decisions, it's very hard to proceed. So we are now working on data governance and formalizing those. We are looking at reviewing finance processes around income data, whether we need more staff, whether we look at expenditure rather than income, whether we change existing processes for some of it. So there's more work to be done there. And then we also, because this was proof of concept, we actually need to go to institute and center directors and say, does that make sense to you? And we really hope that they will say yes, because otherwise it would be tricky to think of another way for us to make sure we don't double count data. But there is an engagement piece we need to do. And then further dashboards and what we want to present. That's technical bit. Creating the dashboards is easy once you've got the business rules done. And that was all I was going to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We still have a few minutes for some questions. Thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. I see that there are some things that we are also struggling with, and maybe you mentioned this, but I was wondering the employment type that you have made. Do you attach those manually to affiliations and researchers, or do you synchronize that from somewhere else? Because it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, so for centers institutes, we do it manually, and then for departments, we synchronize it in. Yeah, so it's a mix.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Just wondering how you cope with when they decide to change their names. Do you just change the names, or do you end an affiliation so you can record what happened under the old name and then have it taken over by a new name, or do you just accept that it's changed name?
Depends if they also change the membership, and depends if they change the function. So if it's the same people, a new name, it's just a new name. But if they, if they cease to exist and decide that they are better formed this way, or they merge, then we do the takeover. Yeah. So, but we, because of the reorganization, we also have had institutes that were newly set up, and then a month later they were merged. So, by the time I get back, we might have new centers. So, yeah, but one of the things we have done around data governance is also, if we use it for reporting like this, then kind of being clear about the business rules that actually we only update it on a quarterly basis, for example, those memberships. Otherwise, you just end up doing it all the time. So that will come with this as well, or annual basis, but nobody can wait for a year.
Hi, my name's Ashley from Monash University. We've got lots of similar problems, so it's a very real thing in the background. Do you have any plans on how to deal with this with other content outside of finance around research outputs and tackling this with the centres and institutes versus their home departments?
Yeah, so this was one of the things we had to get across, that these principles don't only apply to finance. And this was one of the tensions we had, because the finance team were very happy to say, oh no, we will just manually code each project for each center to count income. And we are kind of saying, A, it's too late in the cycle for us to report on applications awards. And B, even if you do that, and then it's a case of, okay, if we code it separately and you code it separately, are we even reporting on the same funding? But then a step further, just because we have dealt with finance, we still need to do all the other reporting. So we still will do it on the persons. With publications, because they do co-authorship, it's kind of, it's not as important, but you understand that there will be double counting anyway, right? So we will do it in pure, and that's kind of the easy part, because you just go, okay, these are our members, these are the publications for this time period. By default, they get affiliated on the record. So yeah, research activities, research publications, all of that. That's something we will look into adding there, but that's the easier bit. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.